Welcome. Today we're going to enter a healing circle. We're going to use mandalas as a way to create a sacred space within us and a way to heal whatever's going on in your life. I found mandala making several years ago now, and I came to it by way of sacred geometry. So this is the way that I'm going to teach it to you. Now, mandala literally means circle in Sanskrit. Circle has no beginning and no end. It mirrors the breath. It mirrors the soul. And when we draw a circle, we're drawing wholeness. So I'm going to ask you now to sit comfortably. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. And we're going to take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feeling your belly expand through each inhale. And set your intention here that you are going to create something for yourself. All you're going to need is a compass, a pencil, a ruler, and optional is a pen. We're going to put that away because we'll use that later. Now that we've used our breathing to center ourselves, we're going to find the center of our paper. And the easiest way that I found to do that is to put one finger on each corner of the paper diagonally and have them meet at the middle. And this is roughly the center of your paper. And make a little mark with your pencil. Now you're going to take your compass and put the point of the compass on that mark. And we're going to start with a somewhat small circle to begin. And I have mine at 2 centimeters. There is no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just using 2 centimeters because I know it's going to fit on my paper nicely. I'm using 9 by 12 watercolor paper, but you can use any paper that you have available to you. And if you're new to using a compass, it can be a little challenging. It does take a little bit of practice, but most importantly is you want to push on that point that's on the paper, and you just want to drag the pencil around, and we're just going to make a circle. The center point is called the bindu, and from that center is where everything else arrived. Now you're going to take the point of your compass, put it anywhere on the outside of that circle, and press the point again. And we're going to do another circle. Where those 2 where those 2 circles join, you're going to place your point. And you're not changing your compass. You're going to do a 3rd circle. And in a later episode, I will explain what all of this means. But for now, we're going to do a series of 7 circles, which is going to be the seed of life. So you're just moving your compass point to the intersection of the new circle the 2 new circles. And again, you're just dragging the pencil point around. Now there's many ways to make a mandala. This is just one way that I'm showing you here. And again, there is no right or wrong way. You can start with a series of circles that are not overlapping. You can do them however you like. For this one, I'm going to put a boundary around. So all I did was open the compass until it reaches the outer edge of those circles and taking it around. And then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and do another circle. And again, slightly bigger again. And making another circle. So the circle represents protection and wholeness. And we made those boundaries around our seed of life. And I'd like you now to think, what boundary in your life might need strengthening? Now, using these circles as a guide, we can decorate this however we like. And remember, the center is the bindu. This is the calm in the eye of the storm. Now to decorate, we might want to put some lines to give us some guidelines. So you're going to line it up, keep your point on the center, line up that point there and this point here, and make a line straight down. And I'm only working within the boundaries of the outer circles right now. Actually, never mind. Let's go all the way through. Go through all of the boundaries. And I'm using the points of the inner petals. And the points of these big petals. So we're dividing our circle into 12. Being really careful to keep your point of your pencil in the center, otherwise you're going to be off center. All right, now you have 12. Now, something that I like to do, you can make these little onion petal shapes. They're just a little wiggly. Or you can just follow along the lines or do whatever you like. can turn your paper. Whenever I'm feeling stressed, I take out a pencil and paper. Sometimes I don't even use a compass, and I do my best to approximate where the circle should be. And of course, my circle won't be perfect because I'm doing it by hand. But you can do this practice wherever you are, as long as you have a pencil and a paper. And if you don't have a pencil and paper, you can even do them in your mind. So do this with me. Close your eyes for a moment, put down your pencil. And let's remember what we've done so far. We found our center, and we drew a circle around that center. And then we moved to the circle, and we did another circle from there. And then we moved to the intersection of those two circles and drew another circle. And we continued around the original circle until we had a total of 7 circles. So see, you can do this in your mind as well. So for this one here, I'm just going to outline, and I'm using the pencil mark as a guide. And then I'm going to draw a little flower. So I'm going to start with a little circle, and I'm going to do those petals. Actually, I'm going to extend it all the way up to there. And then another petal out to the edge there. And then smaller petals down here. And then I'm going to make a circle here and a circle here. And I think it needs another petal. And another circle. And another circle. Oh. So you see here, I forgot a step. Forgot to do my border. Sometimes it's helpful to do all of the same design all the way around the circle. And that way you don't forget like I did. So mandala making is in every culture of the world. You can see it in Tibetan culture. You can see it in stained glass windows, even in Catholic churches, other types of churches. You can see it in Gothic architecture. You can see it in Islamic architecture. Pretty much everywhere. And in some later classes, I might show you some of the other geometries that you can do. But I will tell you that all of it comes from sacred geometry. And sacred geometry is, in essence, how we were designed, how everything was designed. It all started with a point, the center, the infinite. And since it was only a point, couldn't really move. And that got a little bit boring for the infinite. It wanted to explore. So what it did was it expanded itself in all directions to make a circle. And then moved out to the edge of the circle and made another circle so it could expand even more and explore. And from this, we got all the shapes of the universe. Including the square or the cube. It's a square in 2D. It's a cube in 3D. But again, this is not a class on sacred geometry. That will be another one. This one is just making a simple mandala that you can make as intricate or as simple as you like. The choice is yours. And again, you can do the designs that I'm making. You can make your own. You decide what works for you. Most important is that you're taking time to breathe. And you can take the time that you're making these circles to remind yourself that everything comes from the circle. And life is a circle. And the breath is a circle. Kind of looks like a butterfly. Now in a later class, I may show you how to really get things symmetrical if you care to. But I think in this one, I wanted to show you how you can do most of it freehand and not worry so much about the perfection, because this is all about relaxation. Remember to breathe. Use intentionality with your marks, whatever kind of marks you're making. Now I'm using one of these King Art ink line pens in a number 2. You can use any pen that you have. And I'm just gonna outline my lines. Oh wait, yeah, let's do that. And you decide which lines that you want to line and which ones you want to color in. So I'm first doing the inner petals. And then I'm going over them again and doing those original circles that we made. Don't forget to breathe. If you find yourself tensing up, make an intention to lower your shoulders. And you may even put your pen down. Take a few moments to put your hand on your belly, hand on your heart, and breathe. And if we go back to the beginning, what were we doing? We were centering ourselves, and we were strengthening our boundaries. One boundary that I've set an intention to strengthen is when I'm at my job, which, by the way, is not art, even though this is what I'd love to be doing all the time, I'm often asked to do things and the manager will come and ask if I can do a different day of the week that I'm not scheduled. One of my boundaries, new boundary, is I'll tell the manager I'll write it down and I'll get back to you. I don't make a decision right away. It's tempting to, I want to be helpful, but one of my boundaries is that I need to have my relaxation time. I need to have my time for my art. So I want to look at what's going on the rest of that week, make sure that I'm not cutting myself short. And that has really been helpful for me. Another boundary that I've been setting, again, I'll go back to my job, is I have, well, some of you may know me. You may know that I'm a nurse. And at the hospital, when you're working on a busy med-surg floor, you have many patients. In a typical day, I have 6 patients. Sometimes I have 6 different doctors asking me to do 6 different things for 6 different patients. I then have the patient themselves asking for something completely different, and I'm one person. So I have to set priorities and remind myself that I can only do one thing at a time, because our tendency is to, oh yeah, I can do that. And yes, we can do it, but we can't do it all at once. So when I'm doing my morning ritual, I'm getting myself centered to be able to deal with chaos such as that. And it's helpful for me to remember that while as a nurse, I'm sometimes seen as, in my patient's words, a superhero, I am still only human. If you have already used mandala making as a practice, I'd love it if you could share with me in the comments how it has served you and what you've learned through the process. Maybe how long you've been making mandalas. And if you're brand new to this, and maybe you've never even thought of yourself as an artist, share that with me too. Because I will tell you, up until a couple years ago, I did not think of myself as an artist. I didn't think I had any creative bone in my body. I now know that that was just a story I was telling myself. Had no basis of truth. We're all artists. We're all painting the picture of our lives, each individually. And it's an ever-evolving picture. But I love thinking of it that way, because if there's something in my life that I'm not particularly enjoying, why am I painting it there? Maybe, what am I observing about it that's making it not enjoyable? And if it's something that I could shed, like that story that I was not an artist, why don't I do that? These are questions that I ask of myself when I'm doing my meditative practice. What story am I still telling myself that's not serving me? And how might telling myself a new story, how might that change things? So this is the first YouTube video that I am putting out in a long time. So those of you who have seen my earlier work, you may wonder, am I making a complete shift? I'll have to tell you, it's been an evolution. And I took a break for a while because I found that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to make videos. And it was kind of stressing me out. I also, at that time, had to take a new job. So it didn't leave me a whole lot of time to make videos because at that time I was working night shift. And any of you who have worked night shift, if you're not a night person, it's really, really difficult. And anytime that I wasn't working, I was sleeping. And even when I wasn't working, I found that I couldn't sleep at night. I was only sleeping during the day. I was definitely not myself. Excuse me, but it did serve a purpose. Helped me learn what I liked and what I didn't like. And it did give me a lot of time to draw. So that was one great thing about night shift. I was working at a group home for kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And for the most part, they slept through the night. I just had to go and check on them every hour. And of course, if they got sick, I needed to take care of them. But my favorite part about that job was the morning when they would wake up. Wasn't a whole lot of fun watching kids sleep when you can't sleep. So, how is your progress with your mandala? So I'm just continuing to outline what I did in pencil. And I want to outline the original circles that I made before I can't see them anymore because my hand keeps rubbing off the pencil. I'm going to make another outer ring because I couldn't really see it. There we go. So continue with your mark making. I had, whoops. I had made a couple notes, and here I'm just winging it with this video. But we talked about the circle, and the circle signifying structure. And structure creates safety. And within that safety, creativity blooms. So a mandala can be seen as a visual prayer, a map back to your center. Mandalas were used by Carl Jung, a psychologist. He used them in his practice, and he didn't give much instruction, or maybe any instruction, for his clients with doing the mandalas. He wanted them to just draw whatever came to them. So that's another way that you can use this, and you can use the roadmap that I had given you, or do your own thing. Most important is that you're putting pencil to paper and taking those moments to center yourself and breathe. So some of the symbols that I've drawn here, butterflies can signify transformation, metamorphosis. Triangles can also signify transformation. The leaves can signify growth. The circles, unity and oneness. and waves, the flow, the ebb and flow, also your breath. So as you're drawing your mandala, you're expanding beyond your old edges. And if you like, you can color your mandala. If you take your paper and turn it over, I'd like to take a few minutes to breathe again. Placing that one hand on your belly and the other hand on your heart. Notice your breath. And on the back of your paper, using either your pencil or your pen, write whatever words come to you. Have you felt a shift within you as you did this practice? Maybe think of one word that describes how you're feeling right now. Maybe you entered this video feeling scattered or feeling not whole. But hopefully, as you leave here and continue work on your mandala and your meditative practice, you'll leave feeling centered. And just remember, the circle is within you, and it remains in you. I thank you for joining me today. Namaste.